You just got hit by your 2-year-old and it hurt more than you want to admit out loud. She smacked you across the face because you gave her the wrong cup. Now she's on the kitchen floor screaming, and you're standing there with your cheek stinging, running through the same terrible question that's been in your head for weeks. Is this somehow my fault? Because 6 months ago, your daughter was the kid who hugged strangers' dogs in the park. Now she hits you almost every day. Nothing you've tried has worked. And the worst part isn't the hitting itself. It's the quiet thought that comes after, the one that whispers you might be raising someone who grows up hurting other people. The answer isn't what you think. And it starts inside her brain. Your 3-year-old isn't a small adult. Her brain isn't a smaller version of your brain. It's a completely different machine that's still being built, and the parts that matter most for not hitting, those parts are barely framed in. A psychiatrist named Dan Siegel has a metaphor for this in his book The Whole Brain Child, and it finally made the whole thing click for me. Picture her brain as a 2-story house under construction. Downstairs, you've got the basic wiring she was born with, the part where fear lives and anger lives and the instinct to lash out when something feels wrong. That part is fully operational from day one. It's the oldest piece of the human brain, the part we share with every other mammal on the planet. Upstairs is where all the grown-up stuff happens. Impulse control, the ability to pause before you act, the words for what you're feeling, the sense that someone else exists besides you. Upstairs is what stops you, as an adult, from slapping the slow driver at the red light on your commute. Upstairs in a toddler's brain is barely framed in. The walls are up, but nothing's connected yet. A 3-year-old genuinely doesn't have the hardware to stop herself when a big feeling floods through her body. She might know hitting's wrong in a calm moment, and she might feel terrible about it 5 minutes later, but in the moment when the feeling hits, none of that matters. The part of her brain that would have stopped her just went dark. This is why your toddler can agree with you at breakfast that hitting's not okay, then hit her baby brother over a Lego at lunch. She didn't forget, and she wasn't ignoring you. The brakes just weren't available when she reached for them. Her whole body hit an emergency button, and the thinking part of her brain went offline. A developmental psychologist once wrote something that stuck with me. He said if you imagine a person who grabs, punches, kicks, and bites to get what they want, you're either picturing a violent criminal or a perfectly normal 2-year-old. The 2-year-old just hasn't yet built the parts of her brain that would let her do anything different when she's overwhelmed. So when she hits you, what you're watching is a 2-year-old whose body blew a fuse and whose brakes aren't installed yet. That's the whole picture. But that's only half the story, and honestly, it's the less useful half. If this was purely about brain development, every toddler would hit every person equally, and that's not what happens at all. There's a specific reason she's hitting you more than anyone else, and that reason is the answer to the question you've been losing sleep over. Tell me if this matches your house. Her preschool teacher thinks she's a dream, grandma calls her the easiest kid at Sunday dinner, and the babysitter keeps asking if you want her for more hours. Then you pick her up, she walks through your front door, and within 20 minutes she's screaming at you because you peeled her banana wrong. It feels terrible to notice this, because it really does look like she saves her worst behavior for you specifically. Everyone else gets the good version of your kid. You get the hitter. And the conclusion sitting in your gut is that you must be doing something wrong at home that isn't happening anywhere else. Your toddler saves her worst behavior for you because you're her safest person. And once you really get that, something else starts to make sense. Something that sounds completely backwards when I tell you it. The kids who never hit their moms. Those are often the ones parenting experts quietly worry about. I'll come back to why in a minute. Think about what it means that you're her safest person. A toddler's nervous system spends all day figuring out one huge question. Where can I fall apart and still be loved afterward? Because she's 3, she has enormous feelings pouring through her body every hour. And somewhere underneath all of it, she knows she can't manage them yet. At preschool, she stays polite because she's not sure what happens if she loses it there. She doesn't know her teacher the way she knows you. With grandma, she might let a little more show, but she still holds it together most of the time. Then she sees you across the kitchen at 5 in the evening, and her whole body goes, oh, thank God, finally. It's safe to let this out. All the stuff she stuffed down during the day comes pouring out at once. The frustration from school, the tears she held back when another kid took her red marker, the time she wanted to push back against someone and didn't. She bottled it up for 8 hours, then opened the bottle on the one person in the world she knows, in her bones, won't leave her over it. This isn't a bug in your relationship with her. It's the feature you were hoping for. The fact that she feels safe enough to completely lose control with you is the same fact as the fact that she loves you most. You can't have one without the other. If you're rolling your eyes at that reframe, I get it. I was you 3 years ago, standing in my kitchen with a tiny red handprint on my thigh because I cut her sandwich into triangles when the sandwich had been squares every day for her entire short life. Someone told me she was hitting me because I was her safest person, and I wanted to throw something at them. What I wanted was a script. Something I could say tomorrow at lunch when it happened again. I'll get to that. When you really get this, your own body responds differently the next time she swings. the guilt reflex doesn't fire automatically. And that bigger fear, the one about her growing up to hurt people, starts to lose its grip too. Because a small, overwhelmed nervous system releasing pressure in the one place it feels safe is how a kid learns to handle hard feelings in the first place. That's what you're watching happen. And now back to the backwards thing. The kids who actually worry parenting teachers aren't usually the ones who hit it home. They're the ones who are always perfectly, unnaturally calm with their parents. Because if a 3-year-old is never falling apart at home, that can mean she hasn't yet found a place where falling apart feels safe. Your daughter found that place. The place is you. So if the hitting isn't about you doing something wrong, and it isn't about her being a bad kid underneath, what do you do when she swings at you? Because understanding why it's happening doesn't stop it from hurting. And it doesn't get you out of needing to handle it tomorrow at lunchtime when it happens again. Let's get concrete. There's a sequence that works, and it's almost the opposite of what most of us instinctively do. Let me walk through it, because the instinct, the thing our own mothers probably did to us, is to bring big reaction energy. All the big reaction moves. Yelling, grabbing her arm, the gritted teeth, we do not hit in this house, the march to timeout on the stairs. That instinct is completely understandable. Your body just registered real pain. Your stress hormones are spiking, and your own upstairs brain is going offline a little too. You're in the same neurological state she's in, just with adult-sized reactions at your disposal. But going nuclear doesn't teach her not to hit. What it teaches her is that when she gets overwhelmed, you get overwhelmed too. And if you're overwhelmed, you can't help her calm down. You're just another dysregulated person in the room. The first move is physical. Block the hand coming at you, step back out of her reach, hold her wrist gently if you need to. And you say 4 words as calmly as you can find in that moment. I won't let you. Please stop and we don't hit. Both sound polite, but they put her in charge of her own behavior, which she can't be right now because the steering wheel on her brain is broken. What her nervous system needs from you is calm authority. A polite request won't land because she's literally not capable of honoring it. I won't let you hit me. I'm going to move my body so you can't reach me. That's what works. Once the hitting has physically stopped, you name what she's feeling underneath it. You're really mad. You wanted the blue cup, and I gave you the yellow one, and that felt impossible. This sounds like a small thing, and it's doing enormous work. Because the feelings are what's overwhelming her in the first place. And when you put shape around them with words, you help her brain start catching up to her body. The next move is the one most parents either skip or rush through, and it's the most important one in the whole sequence. Do not try to teach her a lesson in that moment. She literally can't learn anything when she's in this state, because her brain isn't available for learning. Everything you try to say about why hitting is wrong, whatever lecture you give about how it hurts mommy's feelings, any consequence you try to spell out on the spot, none of it will land. It's like trying to teach someone long division while they're drowning in a pool. The teaching happens later, when the water is calm, usually the next morning over cereal or 2 hours later on the couch, while she's watching her show. When she's calm, you sit down and say, "Remember when you got really mad yesterday and you hit me?" It's okay to feel mad, but hitting isn't okay. What could you do next time when you feel that big? Kids as young as 3 can problem solve with you when their brains are back online, and you might end up with some weirdly brilliant ideas. A friend of mine has a kid who came up with roar like a lion into a pillow, and it's worked every time since. A lot of families give their kid a safe outlet for when the urge builds up. A pillow specifically for punching, a stuffed bear to squeeze hard, a corner of the bedroom to stomp in. It works because it takes the urge seriously and gives it a real target. The urge to hit when you're overwhelmed is a normal human thing. Adults feel it too. The question is where it goes. A pillow teaches her that big feelings need somewhere to land, and people aren't that somewhere. One more thing, and then we're done. You're going to lose it sometimes. You're going to yell or grab her arm harder than you wanted to. It's going to happen because you're human and your nervous system breaks too. The repair afterward is where the real teaching shows up. When you go back to her later and say, "I got really loud with you before, and I'm sorry about that. You were having a hard time and I had a hard time too. Let's try that again." That one moment does more work than any calm voice lesson ever will. Because you're showing her that grown-ups mess up, and when we mess up, we come back and love is still here. So the next time she swings at you in the kitchen, think about this. That quiet thought from the beginning of the video, the one about raising someone who grows up hurting people, it has the story exactly backwards. A kid who falls apart on you when she's overwhelmed is a kid whose nervous system trusts you to hold her through it. She's learning, right there on the kitchen floor, that home is the place where hard feelings don't get you abandoned. That's how a kid becomes an adult who knows how to handle hard feelings. What you're watching is what secure attachment looks like from the inside while it's still being built. It's messy and loud, and it sometimes leaves a red mark on your forearm. And it's exactly what's supposed to be happening in a healthy 3-year-old. The hitting won't last forever. The upstairs part of her brain is being built every day, one interaction at a time, And what she's learning from you right now is what fills it in. What she's learning from you is that her biggest feelings don't end your love, and that the worst version of her isn't who she really is underneath. That's the work of these years. It's some of the hardest work there is, and you're doing it right now, just by watching this video and asking the question in the first place. Wanting to do this differently than the way you were raised is already the job. If this helped you see the hitting differently, subscribe to the channel. I break down what's really going on in your toddler's head every week, based on what the research actually says instead of the Instagram takes. I'll see you in the next one.